There was one moment that went viral where Song Weilong was seen intently watching Zhao Jinmai, even when the camera wasn't focused on them. His gaze wasn't just blank or casual, it was attentive, as if making sure everything was okay. And that's where the speculation began. Some fans called it a natural display of concern, something that's natural between co-workers who spend a lot of time together. But others saw something different, a protectiveness that couldn't be hidden. In several behind-the-scenes footage, Song Weilong seemed to instinctively move closer when Zhao Jinmai looked uncomfortable or tired. It was a small, almost imperceptible movement, but enough to make netizens take notice. Things like this are often unscripted. Zhao Jinmai herself is known for being cheerful and professional. However, around Song Weilong, there was a subtle change in her expression, more relaxed, more open, even sometimes appearing emotionally dependent in certain situations. Was this simply a sense of comfort between coworkers? Or was it a sign that their relationship was developing beyond professionalism? Body language never lies. And if we look closely, an interesting pattern emerges. Song Weilong often positions himself a little closer than necessary. Not ostentatiously, but just enough to create a safe zone around Zhao Jinmai. It's as if he always wants to be within reach. In their interviews, the way he responds to Zhao Jinmai also feels different. His tone softens, his expression changes, and even his word choice seems more deliberate, something he rarely sees when speaking to others. These kinds of reactions aren't easily faked. Meanwhile, Zhao Jinmai seems comfortable in the presence. He doesn't distance himself, doesn't feel awkward. In fact, he seems to enjoy the dynamic. The small smiles that appear in between conversations often catch fans' attention. And that's where the theories begin to emerge. Some believe it's the result of their incredible on-screen chemistry, something to be expected from two leading actors. But others are convinced that what they're seeing goes beyond acting. Because if it's just acting, why does it seem so natural? There are also moments where Song Weilong seems a little possessive in a subtle way, like paying attention to who Zhao Jinmai talks to, or how she reacts in certain social situations. It's not overly possessive, but enough to make one wonder, is it a form of protection or budding feelings? Interestingly, there's no direct confirmation from either of them. They remain professional, maintain their boundaries, and never explicitly acknowledge any special relationship outside of work. But that's precisely the appeal, because mystery is often more powerful than certainty. Fans are constantly watching, analyzing every interaction, every glance, every smile captured on camera. And the more they see, the harder it is to deny that there's something different between them. Is this just an illusion created by camera angles and fan expectations? Or are we witnessing the beginning of something real? Ultimately, only Song Weilong and Zhao Jinmai know the truth. But one thing is for sure, their dynamic has captivated so many. And perhaps that's what makes this story so compelling to follow. But if we dig deeper, there's one thing that's often overlooked: consistency. Many interactions in the entertainment industry can seem intimate due to the demands of a particular role or moment, but what happens between them feels repetitive, reappearing again and again in different situations. This consistency is what makes the public increasingly convinced that this isn't just a coincidence caught on camera. In several clips, we see Song Weilong reflexively adjust his steps to match Zhao Jinmai's. A small thing like this may seem trivial, but in the psychology of body language, it can indicate a strong emotional connection. It's as if subconsciously, he's always trying to be in sync with her. There are also moments where Zhao Jinmai seems to be waiting for Song Weilong's reaction before responding to a particular situation. A brief glance, a small smile, and then he reacts, a pattern that often occurs between two people who are close beyond mere colleagues. This kind of interaction is difficult to engineer consistently. Interestingly, when they're in a larger group, the dynamic remains palpable. Even with many people around, their focus often returns to each other, as if there's an invisible line connecting them. And it was in the midst of the commotion that the connection became even clearer. Some fans even began comparing their interactions to other couples in the entertainment industry, and many concluded that there was a different energy radiating from their relationship. An energy that wasn't fake, not overdone, but strong enough to be felt. But of course, not everyone agreed. Some argued that this was simply an overinterpretation by fans who wanted to see something that wasn't there. That professional actors are trained to create convincing intimacy. But if that were true, why don't all on-screen couples have the same effect? Why are only a few capable of sparking such lengthy discussions? The questions continued to swirl, and each new appearance of theirs became the subject of new analysis. Every movement, every expression, seemed like a piece of a puzzle the public was trying to piece together. But even now, the puzzle isn't truly complete. And perhaps it shouldn't be. Because sometimes, it's precisely that uncertainty that makes a story feel alive. A possibility that hangs between reality and hope, keeping those who follow it intrigued. Is this just a brief behind-the-scenes story? Or the beginning of something bigger? The answer remains under wraps, but one thing is certain. Their story isn't over yet. Over time, public attention was no longer solely focused on the obvious, but also on what wasn't said. The silence between them became the most interpreted space, a pause that felt brimming with meaning. On several occasions, when the conversation paused, their expressions seemed to speak more than words. A gaze that lingered a little longer, a smile that appeared for no apparent reason, all became small fragments that were constantly analyzed. And the more one paid attention, the harder it was to ignore these details. There were moments where Song Weilong seemed to be holding back, as if deliberately keeping his distance in certain situations. But that's precisely where an interesting contrast emerged, because when he approached again, the change felt even more significant. It was as if there was a boundary he was aware of, but also willing to cross. Zhao Jinmai, on the other hand, displayed an equally interesting response. She never seemed surprised or repulsed, but instead went with the flow of the interaction in a way that felt natural, sometimes even familiar. This kind of comfort doesn't usually emerge instantly. This has led many to wonder, when exactly did this closeness develop? Was it from the start of the project? Or did it develop slowly over the time they spent together? Because closeness that grows slowly often deepens. In the highly publicized world of entertainment, maintaining the boundary between professional and personal is no easy feat. Every move can be misinterpreted. Every interaction can be the subject of speculation. Yet, amidst the pressure, they maintain a consistent dynamic. And perhaps that's where their honesty lies. Not in official statements or clarifications, but in the small things that happen spontaneously, unscripted, undirected, and unintentionally revealing. These are the things that are the hardest to fake. As time goes by, the public may get clearer answers. Or perhaps never. But one thing is for sure, the interest in their relationship will not fade. Because mysteries like this always have their own allure. And as long as they continue to display the same dynamic, the question will remain, is this just chemistry or something more? As the story unfolded, the public began to realize that not everything needed to be explained to be felt. In fact, what wasn't said was often the most powerful part of a relationship, something that many people were secretly observing. There was a subtle tension that always existed whenever they were in the same frame. It wasn't an awkward tension, but something alive, like an electric current that wasn't visible but clearly felt. And that's what kept people coming back to them. Interestingly, the more they tried to appear casual, the more obvious something different became. It was as if their attempts to remain professional were actually emphasizing the emotions they were trying to keep from going too far. This contradiction made everything feel even more real. Many fans began to feel like they weren't just watching two actors, but rather a dynamic developing naturally before their eyes. Something that wasn't planned, but simply happened. And things like this are rare in an industry where everything is planned. Ultimately, whether this was a genuine growing feeling or simply a perception magnified by the public will probably never be fully answered. But that's precisely where the beauty lies, a story that lives on because it has no definitive ending. And all the while, the eyes of the world will remain on them, waiting to see if, one day, all of this will reveal itself.